Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Trojan Talks. I hope you're enjoying your weekend. And if you're one of the lucky ones, I really hope you're hip deep in Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5 games at this point. I'm not. And if you think to yourself, am I detecting a hint of jealousy in your voice? The answer to that would be yes. Jealousy mixed with a healthy dose of frustration at this point for me. You see, up until recently, I didn't know which way I was going to lean on the Xbox PS5 question. I'm first and foremost a PC gamer. I always have been, and likely I'm always going to be. However, I do enjoy console gaming from time to time, but it's never really been my quote-unquote go-to platform. I've got an Xbox One, and it sees actually fairly regular use. I like to fire up the Halo or Gears of War series from time to time, and I'll be completely honest with you, I'm not above utterly pummeling my wife in FIFA. Although, to be fair, it's like beating up a toddler, really. But hey, at this point, a win is a win, right? I've never really been militant, though, on which side of the argument I land. I never picked up a PS4. That just never happened. But in the past, I did have an Xbox 360 and a PS3. So I'm not partial, really, to either side of the console argument. But in the last few months, I made my decision. I settled on the PS5. I guess I like the sound of the new DualSense controller and its immersive haptic feedback. That really appeals to me. And what I think the biggest factor that helped me make my decision was the fact that PlayStation's offering a digital edition. And for those that don't know, the PS5 comes in two editions, the standard and the digital edition. The only difference is the digital edition doesn't have a Blu-ray disc drive. Well, actually, no, that's not true. There's a second thing. It's also $100 cheaper than the standard edition because it doesn't have the Blu-ray disc drive. But the main thing is it's all digital downloads of games. So the digital edition appealed to me as I never had a PS4. So I don't have a single physical game. With the digital edition, I can just buy my games from the PlayStation Store and game away. That being said, though, I missed the pre-order window. I was still marinating on the subject when they launched pre-orders, and I hadn't made up a decision at that point, so I missed out on that window completely. But, come November 12th, I was firmly prepared to pick up the PS5. I knew it was going to be a long shot, as undoubtedly I'd have to wade through a sea of virtual nerds to get one. I mean, and I can see the irony in referring to it as sea of virtual nerds, while I am one of the nerds in that sea. But suffice to say, I figured, why not give it a try? My brother, who is, well, he's well and truly welded to the console train at this point, and he has been a PlayStation guy forever. He told me that the PS5s were going to go on sale on Best Buy's website in the early morning hours based on our time zone. So that morning I was on the phone with him, just chatting, and about 20 minutes before the hour, he cut me off mid-sentence and shouted, "Sales are live." So I refreshed my browser, I added a digital edition console to the cart, and proceeded to check out. And this is where I encountered something I'd never seen before, a virtual lineup. I mean, these things may have been around for ages, but I've never seen one. So apparently Best Buy instituted this to ease the strain on their website, which I can understand. There's probably tens of thousands of people trying to snag new PlayStations at that exact moment. So it makes sense that they threw this virtual lineup into play. To be honest, I wasn't panicked, though. I sat patiently, and I watched this little green bar slowly fill towards the checkout. And after perhaps 2 minutes, I don't think it was even 2 minutes, I received notification that I was able to check out, and I had 10 minutes to do so. That's a ton of time. So I started plugging in my credit card and shipping info, and then I hit the purchase button, and it started processing, and I thought, success. Or so I thought. Plot twist. I got an error saying the product was no longer available. And then the website took me back to my cart, where I stared at the PS5 digital edition, still sitting firmly there, but now with a disclaimer next to it that said it wasn't available. And I laughed pretty hard. At almost the same time, my brother began to rage on the other end of the phone, with exclamations of, quote-unquote, "Best Buy is fucking me." Apparently he'd run into the same issue as me, but after his initial rage, we ended up laughing at how quickly things went out of stock. We figured it was about 4 minutes from when he said that sales were live, I hit the refresh button, to it all being gone. Frankly, I wasn't even mad. Like I said earlier, I'm not a militant PS5 gamer. I'm not a militant console gamer, so not getting one at launch wasn't the end of the world for me. But then something peculiar happened. My brother received an email order confirmation. So despite Best Buy's website telling him it was out of stock, apparently his processing of his credit card went through. For me, though, I wasn't so lucky. We figured that as he was getting the standard version with the Blu-ray disc drive and I was getting the digital edition, perhaps he just got lucky as they may have released a little bit more stock of the one with the Blu-ray drive. Regardless of whatever happened, it looks like I'm going to be waiting a while to get my hands on a PS5. When the next batch rolls out, I'll try my luck again. And this time, to be ready, I pre-filled my billing and shipping info. How does that old saying go? Fool me once, whatever. But with that in mind, you know what? Actually, while we're talking about ordering off websites, EB Games, also known as GameStop in the United States and pretty much the rest of the world, but it's still branded as EB Games in Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So anyway, EB Games, their website, oh shit. My wife tried, in like a Hail Mary attempt, to see if they had any PS5s in stock. And I say try, as their website was so inundated with traffic that it buckled under the sheer weight of the geekdom battering on its proverbial door. It was completely useless. It was inaccessible. Even until well into the day on the 12th, it was well and truly buggered. So yeah, no PS5 for me, no next generation console yet. Speaking of next generation, Assassin's Creed Valhalla launched on November 10th. Now, I debated on whether or not to wait to play it on the PS5 or just to pick it up and play it on PC. Given my previously mentioned online ordering woes, I figured I'm not going to be getting my hands on a PlayStation until sometime mid-2023 at this rate, so I just said screw it and I picked it up for PC. I've always had something of a love-hate relationship with the Assassin's Creed franchise, though. I maintain to this day that Assassin's Creed 2 and its direct sequels of Brotherhood and Revelations, the Ezio series, were the pinnacle of the franchise. You can disagree with me all you want, and I will thumb you in the eye over this. Those were the best Assassin's Creed games, bar none. 3 was pretty lackluster. I placed Black Flag, I guess, kind of near the top of the list. That one actually wasn't that bad, but after that, it just got really repetitive. Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, total snooze fest, complete boring stories. I did not enjoy those ones at all. I just played through them for the sake of getting through them because I'd spent the money on them at that point. Origins was mediocre at best. It was a fresh take on an era, but that's really all it had going for it. It was kind of a one-trick pony. It was Egypt, it looked kind of cool, that was really it. I didn't play Odyssey at all. No idea why. Maybe it was the constant stream of tedious versions of the franchise being released before it. Yeah, probably that was it. But regardless, I never touched the thing. With Valhalla, though, I really liked the era that they chose. The whole Norse mythology, the Viking thing, and some of the game mechanics they added, it really appealed to me. So I figured, let's just get this thing. I don't want to wait for the PS5. I just want to start playing this now, because I could be waiting quite a while for the PS5. To be fair, the PC system requirements gave me a little bit of pause, though. I'll just throw those up on the screen right now while I'm talking about this. To run 2K and 60 frames a second at very high, they call for an NVIDIA RTX 2080 Super. Yikes, that is a lot to ask for. Look at the 4K Ultra High. That's a beefy rig to pull off a mere 30 frames a second. I'm currently running an RTX 2070 Super, alongside an Intel i7 8700K and 32 gigs of RAM in dual channel mode. It's not far off the GPU really for the 2K requirements. So I assumed I'd just have to maybe lower a few settings, sacrifice some shadow textures or something to get it run at a stable 60 FPS. Man, was I wrong. I'm just going to come out and say it. This game is not even remotely optimized for PC. I cannot get this game to run at a stable 60 FPS and 2K resolution, no matter what I do. Well, okay, you know what, that's not true. I could bottom out the textures to potato, and it'll run at 60 FPS and 2K, but even then, only mostly. I spent probably 4 hours off and on yesterday trying to find a way to get the game to run at 60 FPS and not look like it was drawn in crayon. The part that absolutely killed me was when I resigned myself to the fact that, okay, right now, 2K, it's not going to happen. So I accepted 1080p as my fate. I had the exact same problems. Despite being well and truly above what the system requirements are for running on 1080p on high presets, I couldn't maintain a solid 60 FPS. The game has a built-in performance monitor that you can actually pull up. And I could watch my frame rates dancing all over the place. 90 FPS, down to 30, up to 40, and I think it was like back up to 90. It was just a complete mess. I managed to improve things, ever so slightly by capping the FPS at a hard 60. But still, I got regular drops down into the 40s out of nowhere. But then, things got surreal. I said, fuck it, and I blasted the settings up to ultra high on 1080p. Just to ease my morbid curiosity to see what it was going to look like. I expected it to be like 5 frames a second. However, same exact situation. My FPS dancing all over, but still in the exact same ranges as on high. How is that even possible? How can you get the same FPS between high and ultra high? I can't explain that at all. I dropped everything down to very high in 1080p just on a final whim. And lo and behold, solid 60 frames a second. The game drops frames in, it escapes me right now, the name of the settlement. That's the main settlement on Norway. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now. But it's the main settlement, so it's got a lot going on in there. The frames drop down to like the mid-50s, but otherwise it remains firmly at 60 FPS. I can't fathom that. That's absolute bonkers. It's contrary to everything I know about video game graphics. Okay, admittedly, that's next to nothing. But I don't know how a game can run like crap at medium settings and then run like crap at ultra high settings, but run fine in between the two. That's absolute bananas. If someone knows how or why that is, please let me know in the comments because I'm at a loss. Suffice to say, I'm not touching the graphics now though. I don't know what Voodoo managed to get me a stable FPS, but I'll take it, despite it defying all logic. As for the game itself though, I'm quite enjoying it. I'm only a handful of hours in, as I spent far too long trying to get it to run well. But so far, so good. I'm actually really enjoying the game, and I'm going to be releasing a new series on the channel by way of an Assassin's Creed Valhalla playthrough coming up. So stay tuned for that coming in the next few days. So, as you can tell, it was a week of next-generation woes for me. I couldn't wrangle myself a PlayStation 5, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla is just a hot mess in the graphics optimization department right now. But how about you guys? Did anybody manage to snag a PS5 from Best Buy's website at all? Anybody? Or, actually better yet, did you snag one from EB Games/GameStop's website against all odds? Because if so, I definitely want to hear about that. That's impressive. Or did you go completely the other direction and get an Xbox Series X? Are you playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla? And if it's on PC, how's it running for you? Are you running into the exact same issues I did? Or is yours running buttery smooth like it's actually supposed to? Let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to like and subscribe, and actually, while you're at it, ring that bell so you know when fresh content is uploaded by me. I'm off to spend what's left of the weekend playing Valhalla. I'm going to sink a few hours into that and see how that story unfolds, and fingers crossed, I really hope that my graphics maintain a steady FPS. I'm not holding my breath, I'm waiting for it just to implode on itself, but we'll see how that goes, and yeah, wish me luck, right? But in the meantime, thanks for stopping by all, and I'll chat with you guys again soon.